Hello there and welcome to the Inside Scoop. Here in the studio, me, Marius Urbelis, and Oscar Jankowski again.
Yes.
The recurring guest and a very good friend of mine. Thank you for coming here again.
Of course.
So today we decided to talk a little bit about scheduling, time management, and we've just had our module called Agile.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about the module back in the first podcast.
Yeah, we mentioned it.
We mentioned something, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a way of working. It is a way of scheduling something, scheduling your work, your progress. But we're here to talk mostly about scheduling your life.
Yeah.
And basically, and we're late. Basically,
What time is it?
Technically, we're starting half an hour late, the live show, but
Is it always on Wednesdays?
yes,
Yeah, I've not noticed.
technically.
I don't keep track of time recently, so
Whoa,
yeah.
how so?
It's just, yeah.
Is it just because you don't have to count time when you're happy and you're cheerful and everything?
That's the one.
Or are you just busy? Or are you just because you're busy?
It's just because I don't have a schedule, I guess. I just do things as they come right now.
Whoa, such a spontaneous guy. And he's actually holding a can of Red Bull right now, drinking Red Bull, which is the first time I see you drink energy drinks.
Yep, that's not been a thing for a while.
You've just became a spontaneous man, a man of action or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm trying out a new thing, and that's not going well so far. Is starting things before you're ready.
Starting things before you're ready.
Yeah. So not doing too much planning,
Mm-hmm.
to where you do so much planning that you don't actually start anything and it's too late.
Yeah.
Right. Say you've got a project you want to do over summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like planning it. And then
Oh,
the semester starts, and you're like, I
and
know I
you
don't have
don't
time
really
at all.
accomplish it, yeah.
Yeah.
So like just trying to live more spontaneously and
Mm-hmm. So I don't know how well it's working so far. Not too well. It's a hard adjustment.
yeah.
How do you work?
I don't know, because you're one of the guys when I first seen your schedule, which was even done in Excel. I was like,
Yep.
whoa.
Back then, that was actually I had the schedule back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sticking to it mostly.
Yeah.
So like every hour was filled pretty much. After every lecture, I had an hour for taking revising my notes from the lecture.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing like that right now. Partly, I would say that's due to how the modules this semester have been structured.
Yeah.
It's just all over the place.
But do you still do like note taking and stuff?
I still take notes, but
But you don't.
not the same way as maybe
Yeah.
last semester.
Yeah. Last semester was a bit more. I guess just lectures and.
It's more for your article as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just feel like. Yeah, actually, you're right. I used to also put everything in my Google Calendar is my current preference for scheduling. But I just noticed that for the past like week or so, I'm sitting here sitting in the QMB in the labs of the computer labs and just creating games, and I don't even schedule that. As opposed to like a month ago or something, I would schedule everything.
Yeah.
Like if I know, or even if the event has passed, I would still put it in. I would still just like put it in the schedule, just so I would see the backlog of my tasks or something was. And now I guess spontaneously do things.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, you've got one big task right now, and that's
Yeah.
making the game.
Exactly.
You could split that further down if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I should probably do that. But
I think we should. So we also have an interesting special boy running around here in the studio, and his name is Ian. Hi, Ian. Can you try and say hi?
Hi.
Okay, so basically, I wanted to talk about him a bit because with the game, he's been spending a few days on his character design, and then just like today, he decided, okay, that's it. Today is the last day I'm spending on doing the character design. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, that's the last it's the last day I'm spending on character design, and I thought that's like, yeah, I guess that's a good point. You set sort of deadlines for yourself, so you not necessarily have to schedule everything like from this day or like from this hour to this hour I do that. It's just like I am planning to have accomplished my character design, let's say, because we're talking in terms of a game. So for those who are not aware, like just the game design terms, whatever. So he's designing his player character basically. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna do it for today because I've already spent too much time, and I know that you can basically get sucked into that hole and just keep constantly be making more and more progress, refining something, you know. There's always going to be some jerky edges, some jagged lines which you can fix, you know. But it's just like there comes a point where your time investment and the gains just basically just return on investment or something.
Yeah, diminishing returns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can talk more about diminishing returns. Yeah, I even forgot this term. Do you want to talk about what the thing means?
Diminishing returns. Yeah. Well, I can define it well for you.
Yeah, but it's just like at a certain point at which it's not worth doing anymore because you're just not getting as much of an exponential progress.
Yeah, essentially. Like. So, I mean, unless you're trying to, say, if you're playing chess, you're going to keep practicing chess forever if you're trying to be the best.
Yeah.
But you could say there's diminishing returns because you only need to beat like 2 or 3 more people to be the best.
Oh, you're right.
In that sense, but if you want to be the best in the world, it's not necessarily diminishing returns for you. But it's just the idea that like you get to a point where the more you can put in the same amount of hours into something, but you're only improving a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah. And do you think we could apply this to scheduling and time management?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to like not schedule all of the tasks, even though they say the most successful people, the ones, you know, in the top, whatever, some of them have these systems of, was it like 15-minute time frames, 15-minute little windows of, so they schedule their day into these little windows of like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's nothing more, nothing less. Like, yeah, you can obviously have a meeting for like 2 time frames, so like for 30 minutes, but you still say like in this 15 minutes of the day, from 8:15 to 8:30, I'm doing that. And I was thinking of trying this little system where everything you do has to take at least like 15 minutes. So if you go and do, I guess, revision or something, so you can do either 15 minutes or an hour or upwards from here. But then I think there's a certain point at which you just don't schedule these small of tasks. Just schedule the biggest ones. Like if you have a lecture, schedule a lecture, and everything else try and...
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it worked for me when I did have a schedule. I didn't go as fine-grained as 15 minutes. But it's like, spoken like half an hour at the least. But there wasn't like a time of the day that wasn't filled with something, or if it wasn't, I would try to fill in with something. Or it was just time to do whatever.
Yeah. Do you think you use this schedule just in general just because it motivates you to like perform tasks, or?
Well, at the time I was very motivated, so it wasn't so much about. It was about doing a lot of things that I wanted to do. So if I have a lot of things to do, I want to be as efficient with my time as possible to be able to do all these things. Because people will tell you, I was to tell you the list of things that I wanted to do at the time every day. Most people at the time would tell me that's not possible.
Really?
But if you can schedule your day, I like that. It's quite possible. Which I can't think to back then what all of the things were. I know like for 1 hour of the day, it was the same hour every day before I went. So it was like 7 till 8.
Yeah.
I spent like an hour on a coding challenge to practice my coding skills in like C++ or something. So it would be natural to be when I later had to like do a coding interview or something.
Yeah. Do you cut it short? Like if you feel that you still need another like half an hour for that, but your time is sort of over because there's another task you've scheduled, would you just cut the programming challenge, or are you more flexible with?
If I had something else that I had to do?
Well, let's say you scheduled your programming from 8 to 9, and 9 to 10 you have, I don't know, book reading or something. Would you? How does that line between the tasks move back and forwards?
I'm like brain dead right now. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Sorry.
I think you need to take a sip of that Red Bull.
Yes, that's right. Can you rephrase?
So
that?
you're scheduling your tasks. Are you putting this like time frame on yourself. Like 8 to 9 is the time that I'm doing this. If 9 o'clock comes by, you just drop everything you're doing and move on to the next task that's upcoming.
Yeah.
Or are you more flexible and like I can run into that 9 o'clock to try and finish?
Well, I think I was at the time. I think I was being quite rigid with it. So I'd make sure, and at the time I made sure to be doing all these things.
Yeah.
But something like revising my notes after a lecture is something you can miss, but at the time I wouldn't want to. If I did, I would just miss it and move on with whatever else there is, because if you keep being like, oh, it's fine, I'll push it back an hour, and like you didn't do anything, you sat down to revise for an hour, and then you didn't do it for an hour, and then okay, I'll do it now, and then again you don't do it, and then all the stuff that you've got and later scheduled later is just kind of pushed off, and it just messes with everything, especially when you want to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a lot of the time was spent just scheduling, so you could say there's diminishing returns there.
Oh, because there's this overhead where you just
and I feel like it was what I'd call productive procrastination. So you procrastinate but you feel like being productive. So maybe a part of it was the scheduling, where I would take some time out of my day and be like, something new would come up, I'm going to fit this somewhere in my timetable. But
But it feels good while you're doing it, just like, I'm finding time for it. It's just like being busy. I think, it's one of those being busy versus
kind of like Tetris with a timetable.
Yeah. But this is, as I say, like it fits into the category of being busy, but not necessarily being productive.
Yeah.
Like, and there's this another thing, there's this thing called being efficient. So like, I couldn't really talk much about it, but apparently even if you're productive, it doesn't really mean that you're being efficient. So like, if you are able to, chop like 2 trees in an hour, or something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're chopping them efficiently. What if you could use, a better axe and just have more time for resting and chop the same 2 trees or something like that? So it's just a very thin line, I guess, between that. But I've heard someone talk about it, and I was like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, efficient and productive is not the same? Apparently not. So we can probably dedicate another episode for this to just like research more into what sort of what these terms mean,
Yeah.
I was like, damn, scheduling is hard. But let's say for the lectures, let's say for the first semester we had the lectures which were sort of preset. So if there's a lecture on Tuesday at 10 a.m., you know that it's gonna be there next week. So I would just create an event at the beginning of the semester and just repeat event weekly, and you wouldn't really need to do much. But this second semester, when we had this agile thing, it felt like every week is just different.
Yeah.
Like one week we have a client meeting, the other week we have there's this little, it's in a different place. Maybe lecture, there's no lecture. Maybe now the professor's away, so you look at the schedule and again it's just not there.
Yep.
So I sort of got into the habit for 2 weeks of scheduling my week on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So on a Sunday night, you just look at the schedule, you put everything in the boxes, so you schedule 1 week ahead. Like, there's no like click on the repeat event weekly or something. You just like create event by event basis. And I realized that it doesn't really take that much time when you sit down for like 10-15 minutes every week to schedule your week with like the biggest things. I think it's that analogy of when you have a jar and you put like big rocks, then smaller rocks, and then sand on top to fill everything.
Yep.
So it's like you have at the beginning you have to like put the big rocks, like the lectures, the seminars, the tutorials, everything that we have, and then you can, when the week goes on, you just slot these little other things in. So you don't necessarily have to go into that very granular control of your week, but now I just feel like I think it just stabilized again, because we have a couple of subjects and they have lectures which just repeat, so I just also stuck them on repeat and just like don't care much more.
Yeah, well, I've got a problem with unnecessary inconsistency.
Unnecessary inconsistency?
Yeah. So like what's been happening with our modules.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the first 2 years of university we had 3 modules running in parallel every semester. And now it's just kind of changed. Maybe it's not unnecessary because it was just a kind of module that lent itself to run for 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have gotten a bit more time on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm all for consistency as well. So if we can be consistent, why not?
Yeah,
Another
just
thing though,
easier.
With the whole scheduling that we're doing for university, eventually, not all of us, but a lot of us are going to be working 9-to-5 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to use this skill a lot again.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us.
You mean like the inconsistent working or something?
No, like I'm fine with having those spaces between lectures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoy how it is right now that we're not kind of, well, I suppose that's
constrained too much.
Yeah, constrained too much. That we have more time during the day to do, other things that we want to do ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because after a 9-to-5, I guess you're pretty tired as well. But
yeah, I guess. Depends on the job, but like I've heard a term that not a term, but like a saying that programmers or people who usually just sit at the computer for the whole day, like 9-to-5, 8-to-4, whatever the time it would be, is their free time, their pastime activities aren't really involving the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it would seem sort of normal, natural for a programmer to go home, sit at his Xbox or something, or program. You start feeling the fatigue
after 8 hours of looking at a computer.
Oh man, yeah.
It's like studying computing. I have a lot of jotters and stuff that I text. I take my notes in instead of typing them up. I prefer that. Because I'm looking at a computer screen all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm at the keyboard all the time. So I prefer
for back to the manual and
yeah.
I don't know. I just think that for me the computer works because, well, first of all, you don't need to use up paper and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, it's accessible everywhere. Third of all, it's just easy. Just open your screen up, just write the notes down. But the drawbacks of that would be obviously that you can just really spread the sheets of notes you have around the table, and just so this information here, to the left, to the right, and you just like
that's something you just want to bring up. Yeah,
highlight something. It's sort of like claustrophobic feeling when you're constrained by this little computer screen, and you know that there's like a big PDF. When you zoom out, you scale it down, you try and you know that first page contains information and 10th page contains information. It's like you still have to scroll or something. Like we still used to that idea of just reading books, flipping through pages. It's easier and better. But I actually do carry a notebook. I don't remember the last time I opened it, but I carry one.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have planners still.
Planners.
Yeah, planners like notebooks, planners. Yeah. That they schedule things in even.
Yeah.
But you touched on the thing where you don't have this thing here and that on the table, different things, different notebooks for different purposes at different places. I like to have a physical reminder that I'm going to journal. So I look at my backpack and I'm like, okay, I've got my journal here. I'm gonna reminds me to write something down when I've got just notes on my phone in one app. I feel like also if you could have multiple apps for different things, for shopping, instead of having just notes made in your notes app.
Yeah. There are notes which allow you to structure everything into notebooks. Those notebooks into notes, it's basically more for university use. And I used to use Evernote in my first year, where I would create books. First of all, I create a section called University. Then I would create a note array, whatever, a note collection for let's say a specific module, and then individual notes for lectures in there. Yeah, but it still feels like you have to click around, and it just gets hidden. And so thinking back to time scheduling, I was thinking about habits and stuff, and how it's easier to stick some big planner on the wall, just a printout calendar, or let's say you cross something if you have done the task today. So just to do 3 push-ups or something, and it's easier for you to wake up, look at it, say, oh, there's this blank space today, so just quickly do the push-ups and cross it out. And the action of crossing, it just feels satisfying because once it's on your phone, it's very easy to just hide the app.
Yep.
It just gets hidden behind the frame of the display. You know,
Yep.
you just like you click home screen, the app disappears and you don't really see it. And once you forget about your habits or something, and here you go.
Forget about it. Yeah.
You come into your room and there's this big thing reminding you that you have to do something, and it just. So remember when did we talk about micro habits?
You did talk about micro habits. I don't know.
Yeah, basically the micro habits and I've printed out a little thing, but it was just like a piece of paper and it also got lost. So I think what I should do is probably either, I don't know, hang it on the wall or get a whiteboard or something. Just to like have it up there somewhere where, you know, you come back home, sit down at a desk and you just have it here. Because I got that paper and I did those micro habits for like a few days. I would cross them out, but then just like I went to work and, you know, I work night shift, so I came back late and you just like I forget about the paper, and the next day I already forgot about it, you know. I didn't break through the period of 20 something days once you have to like form the habit.
Oh, there is an amount of days for that. I was not aware.
I think so. There's just one of those, you know, placebo things, I guess, where if you do it for a so amount of days, you basically get form a habit.
What do you think about the thing I said earlier about not starting until you're ready? And that's in two senses, I guess. I'm not talking about till you're prepared. You know, you've got the resources or whatever that you needed to start a project. I'm talking more right now about I guess when you're not mentally prepared. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that you should just push through, or wait till there's a moment and then start, but keep going? I
think you can always find an excuse to wait longer. You know? There's this term called the lean startup, where you basically just. We could also make another podcast on starting lean and bootstrapping yourself. You know, these Kickstarter, whatever these terms, on how you should start something, not necessarily a business, just anything. But this lean startup idea is just like keep everything to the minimum, to the bare minimum, and also if you don't know something, you just gonna figure it out, because you know you just sort of throw yourself in there. I would guess that if it doesn't matter too much, like if it's some sort of a task like university's assignment, and it's not like some sort of, I don't know, a thing that people's lives depend on. If a surgeon, you know, just decides to, I haven't done a brain surgery before, I'll try it.
Yes.
That's probably going to lead to not very good consequences. But when it comes to easier things that we're dealing with, I think it's just a good idea to do so. To just, you know, go in there and roll with it. Because sometimes you may discover a new passion, or sometimes you can just discover a new thing where you're just going to be so passionate about it that you're going to learn more and like it. And, you know, it's like now I got out of the habit of making YouTube videos. But once I started, I was like, I know that I'm not ready, but I have my phone in my pocket. And I just like, that's it. Let's just push myself, you know?
Yep.
And I just said, I'll make a video today about, I'm starting a weekly vlog, which is like, you know, it's just like creating about creating, you know? But I sort of, by doing that, I sort of gave myself this little kick, which meant I just announced it. That's it. So I also said at the end of the video, next week I will. And then I was like, God damn, you know, I released this video to the public. What am I going to release next week?
Yep.
And it just started flowing, you know. I did 54 episodes, I think. It's been going on and going on. I think for almost 3 years, 2 years, kept like the weekly uploads. Even though it doesn't really, like, you know, what sort of topic am I going to talk about this week? Nothing. Just have my camera ready. Just see something nice, film it, and then like maybe some ideas will spark from this. Maybe it was also because the environment is suitable for that. You know, you're like commuting, you're walking, you're chatting with friends, you're more likely to come across something new, something like that. Like these days, I feel like if I wanted to do a video, I would have to like force myself to do it.
Right.
I've done it for the university blogs, but I only done it one video, and that's it. If I want to do another one, I have to sit down, research, and do another one, as opposed to something where I just threw myself in with the intention of learning something new, learning how to edit, how to film, learning just loads of new things. And I did it, and it was the best experience I've had.
Yeah.
Because I made new friends. I've had people afterwards messaging me saying, "Oh, thanks a lot, because I watched your videos and now I want to go to this high school, and then I learned this and that." And just like, there's some people who actually appreciate it. I was like, whoa, you know? It was just because I said I will sort of like overpromise.
Yes.
Which is like, you're supposed to underpromise and overdeliver. That's what they say. But like,
yes,
I like sort of overpromised, but then I held myself accountable. So even though, that's the thing. So like, even though, you just go in there not knowing anything, you just push yourself. I
feel like having something to keep you accountable is really good. I feel like that works. Like, even that could be people.
Mm-hmm.
That could be you telling somebody, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
That can go the other way around. That can make you feel horrible if you don't do it. But it could force you to do it.
Yeah.
Or even having a journal, right?
A journal.
If you fill your journal out every day, and then you have a day where you just don't do anything and you're super lazy, like, how much are you going to want to write about that in your journal? Or if you have a habit, or if you have a habit of doing something every day that's productive, and I don't know, you write that down in your journal every day that you did this, and then one day you skip it out, but you've been doing your journal for like maybe a year, and you don't want to just skip one day out,
So I think that would motivate you to do something that
I've
day?
been thinking about that for a long time, and I haven't really properly started doing a daily journal. I've kind of tried starting, and then it kind of fell off.
I have done one back in the States when I was on exchange. I had this idea to like just do it for 30 days, I think. So I just bought a notebook, just said, okay, every day I'm gonna write something in it. I don't remember what. I think I've had like 3 specific questions which helped me, but there's like three questions that you base your journal entry on. It's maybe like, what did you feel the most excited about today? It's like, what was the most boring thing? And then from these things you can have this backlog of like days and how you felt that day and what made you feel like that. So then you look and you start realize that, well, it's a bit hard now as we're in university, and we can't just like say, I don't like lectures. So you can look back on your thing and just basically say that, I'm gonna ditch lectures or something. But just in general, maybe you spoke to some guy you don't like, and then you've realized that you hate the guy or something, and then he insults you or something. So you just look back through that and say, okay, that makes sense. I should probably fix that, or just not talk to the person. And then once you single these things and single out and just get them out of your life, basically you just become a happier man, I guess.
You think?
I mean, that's what you're aiming for, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like just being happy, I guess, and making other people happy.
Do you think you can have that much control over your happiness?
Not necessarily that much, but it's a good question.
That's a tough topic.
Having an ability to control your happiness? No, yes. Well, see, okay. Well, thinking back to the journaling thing, if every day you feel like you're writing the same thing over and over again, that most likely means that you can change something. I don't know. If not, then you can at least try and spot patterns which, I don't know, help you change your mindset, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it, when it comes to happiness and unhappiness, like, try to not look at that. People say that you don't aim at being happy, trying to be happy, like aim at other stuff, and that being happy comes and goes. Like, sadness and happiness come and go, and it's just a part of life, obviously. Like, there isn't one without the other, yin yang.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can, when you've got a journal like that, as you're saying, you can focus on stuff that is more tangible, that's removed from your emotional state. So like the thing last week that we were talking about, doing more reading and doing less thinking and stuff like that. That's something you can affect, I feel.
Yeah.
Because if you can remove that from your emotional state, that's the thing with habits as well. If you have a habit, it doesn't matter if you're having a good day or a bad day, you're going to do this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, what the best sportsmen in the world do. Like, if they're having a bad day, they still go to training.
Yeah, they just do it.
And so you remove that from your emotion completely. Emotion still comes when you like achieve something big out of it.
Yeah.
From all that practice at the end. But
if you have to do it, you know, then you, I guess you think about it and you become this hyper-aware, self-aware person where you are aware of that you're feeling bad today, but then you have to push yourself, and you then probably just can change your mindset a bit to think about, let's say, the achievements, or if there's a workout, you probably feeling lazy or something before it, you start thinking about the gains that you're gonna get after it. You know, the moment after you finish it, and just feel like you've accomplished it. Like, it's one of those good feelings.
Yeah.
But you have to sort of invest in that future feeling just by saying, now I have to push through.
Yeah.
And I know that the feeling will come.
So what was the thing that's talked about nowadays about immediate
instant gratification?
Instant gratification. So it's that kind of thing. Like being able to think about far in the future, be able to not get much of an emotional boost from whatever it is you're doing right now, kind of staying very composed for when in the future you can celebrate that kind of thing.
You're basically investing in the future self and trying to not let him down, and I'm still guilty of that. Like we should probably do an episode on future self,
because we talked about past self.
Yeah, so forget about past self, maybe use that to improve our present self a bit. But how today we're basically there's this saying about the earth and the ground and everything. They say that, like, it does not belong to us because we are borrowing it from our grandchildren. So it's like we shouldn't just destroy the planet and, like,
I see.
So it's like, it's because the land is not ours. It's just we're borrowing it from future generations. So if we leave a mess, we're basically just, leaving a mess for the future. So
you could use your future self to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah. And then once without even noticing that, you just keep doing good things for yourself. The time will come when you just realize that, hey, actually, compared to my past self, I'm feeling like a better person, way better person, Just, I would need that. I would need this this waking call to snap out of this weird, where it's like, oh, I'm just levitating, just barely above the water, and I don't care about diving deeper or just be there, exist.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm currently in this state of mind where, even though I know what is best for me, but I can't really act on it.
Right.
Maybe even keto. I've seen friends around us started doing keto diets and stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty thin, slim, whatever. I don't really, but then I start feeling like I'm gaining weight, and I talk to this guy, and he's like, yeah, you need weight, but your weight has to be muscle, not fat. Just like, oh wait, that actually makes sense. So even like doing something like keto diet, because we talked earlier on the podcast with Patch about ketos, and I think we should probably just come in next time to chat about some sort of a goal that we raise for ourselves.
That keep us accountable.
To keep us accountable, yes, but come up with a proper
I know you've done
system.
This before, because I listened to one of your podcasts. You're talking about, I can't remember. It's a YouTube thing.
It's a no YouTube weekends.
Yep.
It didn't work for me.
Didn't.
Patch was like, okay, so we'll try to catch up with it, and yeah, so we didn't really like catch up on that. We didn't speak about it, and there wasn't a person who was like constantly checking in if you're keeping you accountable. And I also could barely break out of the rhythm of not just watching YouTube. So I didn't watch it for like a few days, and then realized that what else am I gonna do now? I'm literally so tired, like after
Yeah.
a shift or something. I'm like, I don't know. But we would need to maybe read up a bit on systems, on how to motivate yourself, so that we would have this motivation from outside, first of all, that will help us build the inner motivation
Right.
to move forwards.
Yes.
Once you reach that, once you achieve that, you don't need anyone else telling you what to do.
I mean, I know what worked with me in the past, like last semester. It was literally just having a habit and just keeping on going. I was really having something to do that I wanted to do. Then I thought that was useful for me. Right now, I'm doing the games module. That alone isn't going to motivate me. So I don't really.
I'm actually excited.
Yep, I know. Yeah,
I am.
you
Like,
are.
I wake up, and today I woke up. So I went to sleep at 4 a.m. Because it's after a shift. So I went to sleep at 4 a.m. Woke up at like 8 a.m. full with energy, ready to rock and roll. Go to the labs, because I was actually waiting for this, going to the labs, creating games, and meeting up with Ian. And hi, Ian. So
you should come on the end.
yeah, and basically I was so excited, but then I looked at the watch and said, wait, so I only slept for 4 hours. My body is trying to fool me.
Yeah,
It's trying to say, hey, you're excited, it's all fine, but like, I know that I will just fall asleep or crash, something like that. So then I just slept for a bit more, and then until I was waking up almost every hour. And then I looked at it, okay, so it's like 7-ish hours of sleep.
Yeah,
I'm good. So
that's
I just
good
woke up.
enough. 7,
Yeah. So like, but I feel excited because I have done this. I like games. I like making games, and I don't know. Probably not the best skill, but it's, I don't know, man. Whatever makes you happy, I guess.
I like the idea that I'm going with for the game. But when I think about the deliverables that we have for like the first 10% of the assignment, I'm like, it doesn't excite me so much. I know I need to write them down, and I know the one pager will be really useful for me because I'll be able to talk about the different aspects of my game. But then I look at the stuff that's there, like a genre and target audience. Like, I'm making this game because I'd want to play this game. I'm my target audience essentially for this.
I haven't actually read the assignments, so that's why I'm just so calm and easy just creating the game.
Yeah.
However, from the intrinsic motivation, I do have a game concept document with player POVs and target audience and unique selling points, because I didn't look at the assignment, but I'm pretty sure that whatever I have will fit the assignment, because I was so excited in doing that I did it in the best sort of term, like a best way to do it in the like actual industry, to analyze the audience, to maybe a bit still far from like a good game design, but at least I'm feeling like I'm doing some progress or something better.
Yeah, I've probably written over. It was when I was writing like loads and loads in that notepad, and I was like, I started running out of things, out of game design terms that I could use to kind of classify all these things. So I literally had like mechanics, progression, stuff like that, and I can remember all the other stuff that was mentioned in the book, and I was like, maybe I should look into the book and kind of follow that, because it would be useful from somebody who's like done this before. But I feel, well, maybe straying a bit of what we were talking about, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that's in the book, I mentioned this earlier, that there is a lot in this book from somebody with lots of experience, where a lot of us are doing this module. This is the first time we're ever creating a game. I feel like a lot of the stuff isn't going to stick with us. I feel like if we've made maybe at least one game before and come up against some of these struggles that he talks about in the book, it would have resonated better with us, because it's a solving a problem for us. Whereas if we're coming into reading the book without ever any experience in the thing, we kind of brush it off, because we don't realize that, you know, how much of a problem it is. I mean,
it is a person who's a game designer.
Yeah, he was like,
but he also structured the book by levels. So he has these chapters in the book structured sort of as levels, and if you were to follow his design, his principles, his everything, I'm pretty sure you would be well aware of what sort of, you know, games are and how you're supposed to make them, because he talks about the camera, he talks about the fighting, the blah blah, but like maybe if you're not as interested and if you don't know what like half of the terms mean or something, it's like probably as you say, like more of an advanced, or
it's like when you don't know what problem you're solving, that kind of thing. I've actually thought about this a little bit more, about two ways. It's very general. It can be split down probably, or there's probably more ways of reading a book for learning something. So I kind of spoke about it in my, I wrote it down, but I'll try to remember it. One of it was when you've kind of went and followed some basic rules for practically creating something, applying yourself. So the same making a game. Yeah. And then you go pick up the book and read it. So after you've been doing this maybe for like 6 months, regularly. Yeah. It's kind of like decorating your knowledge with somebody's experience. Yeah. I feel like when you haven't done any of it before, when you're just reading this book as the first thing, as your first step, you're kind of laying this kind of you're like these breadcrumbs in front of you. Yeah. So when you later go on to actually apply yourself practically, every now and then you'll kind of you'll unconsciously do some things very well in the right way because you've read about it before, not being aware of it. So in that way it can be useful, I guess. But
I do sometimes notice that when I think it's the like subconscious programming things where I turn on some tutorial in the background, while doing something, and then I don't know, after a week or something, I just subconsciously, spontaneously just do that. And I think, where do I know that from? Yes. And then realize, wait, makes sense. Or at least I am aware of that some sort of a tool to accomplish a task exists. I don't know what sort of tool or how it's called exactly, because exists. I forgot, let's say from the last time I watched that tutorial or something, but I at least know where to find the information, I think that's what studies are.
Yep. So that's kind of priming your brain, I guess, to the task. Even if you're not supposed to recall everything you read. No. It's just to kind of wire your brain in a certain way.
It's a bit of a sad thing that we're still to this day getting tested.
Oh, it'd be so much better off if we're just expected to read, but not necessarily maybe actually written answers on tests and very open-ended questions. Yeah. But we can't be trusted to do that because
because that's the thing. Most of the people are just gonna not do that. That's the thing. But why would they come to get an education anyways? Like some people just don't have any sort of motivation, and you just think like, what?
It would become a thing eventually if we gradually move towards that. It would become a thing. We could do it. I mean, personally, I struggle with just reading books. If I was for the entirety of university trying to just get as much information as I could, just read a lot, it'd come to me easily, and I would see the value in it. But when we're expected to, you don't see the value in it if it doesn't help you, progress with your university degree. Yeah.
I don't know, we had the cybersecurity module.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult and hard, and then it also like required certain things, and you had to recall some information, for the exam. And also there was this mental pressure, at least for me personally, that the exam was worth 80% of the grade.
Right.
So anytime I would read the book or do anything else, I would just constantly be thinking about this 80%. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to be tested on this 80%. Now I don't think I remember anything from that module.
Yeah.
But I always thought that cybersecurity is interesting. I would like to, get more into it, to learn more things myself. But when this big thing just hangs over you, say, hey, your degree depends on this, so you have to. I just over push myself, and just everything crumbles.
It's like this games thing as well, but I think it's more also for the people who are going to put the effort in. If you do read the books, I think you're going to do a lot better as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like the diminishing return thing, but in a positive way. Yeah. As you don't get rewarded that much more, but. Because you can pass the games module, but just make it following the deliverables that you have to, and you can do just fine. You probably not worth your time reading the book even, but
technically yes. But our professor said you're gonna take out of this module whatever you want to take out.
Yes.
So challenge yourself. Like if you've never done a 3D game, do a 3D game, because why not? You know, it's one of those first lectures, modules sort of things where we actually have a little bit of a freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And they acknowledge it. They say this is structured in a way to give you freedom.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be some people, well, maybe I'm wrong, you know, but there's probably going to be some people who just put very minimal effort in order to free up some more time and just, you know, I don't know, do all sorts of crap with their time instead of, you know, actually focusing on making the game. So they're going to, you know, throw some assets which they ripped online and just create the game out of these little pre-built pieces already, because they don't like game development, they don't really care. But for other people like me, like I like game development, so it's a very good opportunity to finally just push through that barrier, which is sort of a mental barrier where you have a sort of half-finished ideas and then you start making it, but you finish midway because your idea just ran dry. Like it's just like it wasn't that good of an idea, or you just didn't design it from the get-go properly.
Yeah.
You just had a certain idea, you started working on it, then you lost motivation because you didn't spend enough time pre-planning.
And
so
do you feel like once you, like, because of this, you're going to be kind of forced to finish the game? Do you think because of that you're going to learn how it feels to actually finish the game, and do you think you're gonna enjoy that and do it a lot more often then?
Yeah, possibly, because this is one of the, and that's what our professor said during a meeting, and I'm just like, so what do you like about it? Blah. I was like, well, I'm glad that this puts a time pressure on me, and she's like, yeah, it's a very good opportunity to do something. I even wanted to publish a game last year. The beginning of the year, I just said, okay, I'm gonna work for a year and then publish a game on Steam. Didn't happen. Why it didn't happen? I don't know. Probably lost motivation, and then other subjects come in when you start feeling like you have less time for your activity. You just have to do the things you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if you were so passionate about that, you would do the things you have to do, but then find at least a little bit of spare time.
I feel like that's even better.
Play the long run and
Yes. Like getting the things that you have to do out of your way. It also motivates you to actually do the things that you have to do for university. If you know at the end of the day you get to do something that you want to do without the pressure of thinking I'm just procrastinating. So if you get all the things that you need to do for university out of the way, and then as a reward you get to work on your own thing, and you're still being productive because you're working on your own thing, you're on a productive thing, and, rather than just, I don't know, Netflix.
Yeah. That ties back into scheduling and time management.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something that you're excited about, it's way easier to schedule, or not even schedule. That's why I'm not scheduling something, because it's just spontaneous. I know that I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna want to work on this, so I just go and work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I have some free time, just work on it.
Yeah. See, one thing I don't want to be a slave to my deadlines.
Oh.
That's one thing to fight against, because if you're just a slave to your deadlines, you're always going to be working under somebody, and you're never going to be independent to work on what you want to work on. If you can't find the motivation from within, and that's your destiny, and that's fine. That's completely fine. You can do that. That's a way to live,
for sure. Yeah.
But I feel like it's more exciting to, even if it's a lot of hard work, to find something within you to motivate you to do what you want to do, and find that thing that you want to do for yourself. I think it's worth it in the end. Yeah.
I feel like we steered back and forwards and around in circles and loops.
It is what
one
it
of
is.
us it is what it is. It's one of those spontaneous episodes. It is what it is could be used for some sort of a Taoism greeting, because Taoism, the flow, yin yang, everything. It is what it is, but you can influence that. You can influence the flow. That's the thing. The time flow, the way your time is managed. And so we end on this note, yeah.
It is what it is.
But you can influence that?
Sure. Yeah.
Works for me.
Well, let's talk about determinism next time.
Yeah, sure, why not? Works for me. So see you guys next time. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Oscar, for being here.
Thank you for having me.